go. Coming this Halloween is the strangest looking Elizabeth yet, Ishtar. We've abandoned the Halloween premise entirely and launched off into space for the sequel no one knew they wanted until they got it, Saber Wars 2. This event introduces Space Ishtar, a 5-star Avenger and an absolutely insane farmer. Whoa, Fino, skipped a couple of servants there? Don't worry, I'll deal with the rest of Summer 4, but Space Ishtar is the bar against which all other loopers are compared, so we may as well see what she's about. The key to Space Ishtar's versatility is Venus Driver. It gives a single stack of NP damage and invulnerability, but the real appeal is that it can change your Noble Phantasm to Quick, Buster, or Arts for 3 turns. The dominant card type in FGO has changed several times now, from the Wild West of defensive arts teams and Buster K-Scope stackers, to NA's current Quick meta, to JP's Castoria-fueled Arts meta. And if the rumors about Fairy King Oberon are true, then 3-turn Buster farming might very well see a resurgence. The point is that regardless of the prevailing trend, Space Ishtar has the tools to remain relevant indefinitely. The standard enemy type would have to become like moon cancers to stop her, so unless David's running a BB ranch down in Brazil or something, I think we're safe. Another essential tool is Multiple Star Ring. It gives Ishtar 50% charge at level 10. It also has an 80% chance at each of the card type buffs, which lasts 3 turns. The 50% battery alone is worth the price of admission, and you should get this to level 10 ASAP. It's a big part of what lets her function as an Omni attacker. The card type buffs being RNG is obnoxious, but something you can plan around. Prince of Lanling is the most practical way of solving this, since he also gives a mix of attack, charge, arts, and crit buffs. Jankier alternatives include Skahak, Miyu, and the other Saber Wars 2 servant Calamity Jane. These tend to be more relevant for boss fights than standard farming, but keep them in mind if you find room in your team building. Ishtar's versatility on this front is among her most valuable assets. Space Ishtar's Noble Phantasm is Edin Shigura Quasar. It's an AoE attack, arts by default, and it increases her extra card damage, incentivizing Brave Chains. Its overcharge effect gives preemptive NP damage for 3 turns. That means that on turn 3, you'll have accumulated 3 stacks of it for a nice bit of damage. With Venus Driver, you can of course change it to either Buster, Quick, or keep it as arts but gain another NP damage buff. This quirk has applications in gimmicky resistance quests. For instance, there's the Nerofest 3 finale, which comes back in Grand Nerofest. It features one-off enemies with 100% resistance to specific card types. Starting as arts and switching to Quick or Buster lets you bypass them as they enter the fight. That's a very underrated property of this NP. You don't have to commit to your final card type on turn 1. You have the option of using the default arts version to get more charge back on the first wave, and then switching to Quick for damage in combination with Scotty. The Buster version is the least used currently, but it has a neat trick in that it enables Buster Brave Chains. Between the Buster Chain bonus and the NP's extra card buff, you can really maul someone. Looping is, as you might imagine, your primary objective when using Space Ishtar. Thankfully, she's exceptionally good at this. On top of that 50% battery, she has a self-restoration passive to gain a bit of extra flat charge. As you've seen with servants like Dantes, it can make all the difference, especially against berserkers who are stingy with the charge they give for hitting them. Quick looping will be the immediate MO for Space Ishtar, and admittedly it's a bit clunky. She can start with Waver or post-buff Rhaenys on the board, pop the first NP as arts, and then expend their remaining charges before swapping them out for Scotty, switching to Quick, and finishing the fight. Thankfully, you only need a 0-star Kaleidoscope to do this, which is an improvement over a number of other 3-support loopers. The downside is that even with a Super Scope, you're at risk of missing your loop target, and there's a strong chance you'll need to bring a 3rd charger anyway. That's the one weakness of Spishtar's NP. It's got a grand total of 3 hits, which is on the low end of what's usable. There are actually ways of looping with 2 supports even on release, though you should keep in mind that these lose damage, which can be a problem since you're running without class advantage in a lot of scenarios. Xnaya did a lot of experimentation on this front, and found such combinations as Bride Scotty, Waver Scotty, Lanling Scotty, and Paracelsus Scotty. These can work with Fragment of 2004, the latter 2 pairs being more strict about which nodes they work on. As you might have noticed, those combos all list Scotty. There is an on-release art setup that works, but it requires Tamamo, Paracelsus, Neurobride, a Super Scope, and Plug Suit to function. Pre-Castoria, I'd recommend just sticking with Scotty. Post-Castoria though, things get ridiculous. Not only are you unshackled from a 3rd support, but your craft essence options open up to include a lot of highly aggressive 0% starting charge picks. You can also run the Tropical Summer Mystic code for damage buffs and a bit of charge, and you can even farm irregular 1-3-1 nodes if you play your cards right. Suffice it to say, Castoria is the way of the future. If you want to meme around the extra card damage effect, consider Summer BB, who can lock you into 3 turns of guaranteed Brave Chains. And if you're an idiot, you can pit her against Geronimo to see who's the real master of the elements. To back up your bad decisions, Ishtar has Devil's Sugar. It gives her an attack buff and gives a slightly bigger attack buff to everyone else. Your friends also get debuff immunity, all for 3 turns. The attack is nice for multiplicative damage, but the side effects are the least relevant for her main playstyle. I guess early on it can help multi-attacker setups, but that's about it. Ishtar can pick from a variety of craft essences that suit whichever card type she's trying to exploit. On the quick end, Kaleidoscope is your go-to and borderline essential for looping. Then there's Traces of Christmas, which gives quick starting charge and NP gain. If you need to cave someone's skull in and you're alright with leaning on face cards, it can be useful. Buster setups can leverage Buster and starting charge effects like Aerial Drive, which comes with NP damage, and Jewel Magic Bullet, which is accessible as a 4-star pull. Art strategies have the biggest pool to choose from, including same type buffs like you'll see in Formal Craft, Royal Icing, and Painting Summer. Then you've got NP damage picks like Vessel of Desires, Holy Night Supper, and the coveted Black Grail. That last one fits especially well with Castoria setups. Finally, there's Sweet Crystal in the off chance that you need Invuln Pierce. For command codes, the most useful one is Mask of Concealed Beauty, which provides 20% buff success chance. If you draw it on either turn 1 or 2, you can exploit its effect on the subsequent turn to guarantee a successful multiple star ring proc. And if you're a degenerate with a gambling problem, you can use Royal Bunny to fish for card type effectiveness effects. Space Ishtar is a highly effective servant, and she's meta evergreen. Regardless of whether Quick, Arts, or Buster is the dominant playstyle, she can adapt to these new conditions and continue doing what she does best, farming up a storm. That said, this extreme versatility does come with drawbacks. As a Swiss Army knife type attacker, she's not going to be the optimal pick in most scenarios. For example, Mysterious Alter Ego Lambda can leverage narrow class advantage against archers, and Summer Musashi gets a broad damage increase since she's a berserker. And damage really is the overriding concern when you deploy Space Ishtar. Her attack stat's high, but it's still the lowest of all 5-star Avengers. Because you're doing neutral damage in most fights, you'll seriously want extra NP levels to make sure she can keep pace with high enemy health values. But this puts you in the position of pulling for multiple copies of a limited 5-star servant. Suffice it to say, she's not free-to-play friendly in this regard. Adding salt to the wound is the fact that Saber Wars 2 doesn't get consecutive reruns. If you undershoot the first time around, you're stuck waiting 2 years for a non-GSSR chance of getting her. That's a risk you'll have to weigh in deciding whether you pick her over other high-end attackers or even Chen Gong. But logistics aside, she's ridiculously useful, and I'd highly recommend Space Ishtar. Thanks for watching. Like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more, and come watch me on Twitch where I stream every weekend, 3 PM Pacific time, Friday through Sunday. Last week I promised I'd YOLO 30 quartz in a Summer BB's banner, even though I already have her at NP5, so you'll want to stop by and see how that bit of tempting fate turns out. My money's on Achilles showing up. Anyway, I'll see you there.